Continue from the previous section or open the file Chapter 17 Office Suite Analysis 03.max. Once the scene opens, notice the light meter in the Camera 01 viewport. Currently, the values represent the daylight factor within the room. Using a light meter is one option. However, there's another way to represent the values of luminance and illuminance in a scene. We can use an image overlay effect to show the values in an entire image. Open the Lighting Analysis Assistant if it's not already open. Switch to the Lighting Analysis Output tab, and let's look at using the image overlay effect. In the image overlay rollout, click on Create Image Overlay Effect. This will create the effect and automatically add it to the effects dialog, which will also open. In order to edit the effect, click Lighting Analysis Image Overlay in the effects list. In the parameters rollout, there are several parameters that we can edit based on the analysis requirements. In the type and range area, the quantity allows us to specify whether we're measuring the luminance or the illuminance. The scale option sets whether the values are based on a linear or logarithmic scale. We're going to measure the illuminance. However, notice that we do not have the ability to measure the daylight factor as an overlay. The daylight factor is just available only in the light meter within the viewport as a measurement. Make sure the Camera 01 view is active. Go ahead and click Render Production from the main toolbar. We'll wait while the image renders. Once the rendering is finished, we will see a pseudo-color image that pops up. This we can close and discard. The final render is the image that we're interested in. It provides the lighting analysis and illuminance, and currently our color values are not set to the values that we have in the scene. Close the render dialog. If we look in the Render Effects Parameters rollout, we can see that the largest displayed value is 3039 lux. Your value may vary a little. In the Type and Range area, set the maximum value to 3039 and press Enter. Changing this value also changes the light meter color coding value in the Lighting Analysis Assistant. In the Lighting Analysis Assistant, switch to the General tab. Notice this has also changed the maximum value in the Analysis Value and Color Coding rollout. If you change the value here, it will also change the value in the Lighting Analysis Image Overlay effect, something very important to remember. Now render the scene again. Once the rendering is finished, close the pseudo-color image. Now when we look at the rendering, we can see there is a much better use of color, from blue being dark to white being the maximum value, with orange and yellow and a good transition to cyan off into the blue. Close the render dialog. In the Lighting Analysis Image Overlay Parameters Display Options area, there are a number of different features we can show and hide. One thing we can do is show the numbers on the light meter helper. Let's turn off Show Numbers on the Entire Image screen grid and turn on Show Numbers from Light Meter Helper Objects. There's also a way when working within 3ds Max to work with render effects interactively and update them in real time. In the Effects Rollout Interactive area, turn on Interactive. This will re-render the scene and show us just the options that we currently have selected. Move the render window out of the way a little bit so we can see both the render frame window and the effects panel. Toggle the Show Numbers on Entire Image screen grid on and off and then on again. This updates the rendered image as we click the checkbox. Turn off Show Numbers from Light Meter Helper Objects. We can also turn on and off the camera name. We can do the same for the daylight information. We can fade or unfade the background. Depending on the information that we want to show, the options here can be toggled on or off. Also, when setting up the screen view, we can adjust how many values we see. We change this in the Screen Grid Layout Options area. Here, if the vertical spacing is larger, there's more space between each value. It's not the number of values on the screen, it's the space in between each value, the number of pixels in between. Enter 50 in the vertical spacing value, and enter 50 in the horizontal spacing value as well. This will give us a screen grid that's a good size with the values spaced out by 50 pixels. If we want a tighter or looser grid, we can adjust the spacing value as needed. However, if we show the numbers from the light meter helper object, the spacing is fixed to the number of points in the light meter object. In this case, it's 5 by 5. Let's turn the Show Numbers on Entire Image screen grid off and turn on Show Numbers from Light Meter Helper Objects. We can see there are 5 value points this way and 5 value points the other way. Now that you're able to use the lighting analysis overlay, you can begin to utilize these options together and create a complete presentation.